nervous and nerve-wracking, but hopefully today we're gonna remove a lot of the ambiguity around the interviews and the residency match interviews. Hopefully, with the help of with the valuable insights that our guest is going to provide today, our guest, who I am thrilled and excited to introduce, Dr. Laith Maali, is the Associate Professor of Neurology at the University of Kansas Health System, where he directs Neurology Transitional Care and serves as an Associate Director for both Neurology Residency, as well as previously the Vascular Neurology Fellowship. He is board certified in neurology and vascular neurology, and he completed his fellowship at the Medical College of Georgia. Dr. Maali has co-authored numerous peer-reviewed publications in many leading journals, some of which are the Lancet, JAMA, Stroke, and NAJM. He has held many leadership roles, including in teleneurology operations. Dr. Maali, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Abdullah. Muhammad. أول شيء السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الانترفيو I see most people listed here أغلبهم من الأردن فراح يكون interactive عربي وإنجليزي just for the sake of making it easy for everybody. The interview season is coming. For whoever is nervous, this is the right response. Everybody was nervous. Everybody was in your shoes, us included, years ago. It's a normal process. Positive, I'm hoping it's going to give positive vibes for everybody. Once you get your interviews, you cross the big obstacle. So once you have an interview, you just have to nail your interview. So hopefully this webinar is going to answer this question for you. We're not trying to change who you are. We're trying to present yourself in the right context to a different type of people, right? خلينا نحاول نعمل scrolling. طيب احنا في عندنا few items. طبعا اي interview انا في عندي just very few slides. I want to leave good space and room for Q&As, and I think most people will have like Q&As and one specific answer. But first things first, you did your application, submitted a bunch, paid a lot of money, right? You got a bunch of interviews. خلينا نحكي average 5 to 10 interviews, hopefully more. More doesn't mean that you're going to match. A lot of people match with 1 or 2 interviews. So don't feel nervous if you got 1 or 2 interviews. I know personally multiple colleagues who match from 1 single interview. So you just have to do 1 good interview. وإن شاء الله بفضل الله you'll match easily. Before you do, one important thing is that you have to do your due diligence, right? You got an interview, you should accept pretty much quickly, show interest, pick the date, the availability. Back and forth, unless you have to, is in general discouraged. Most programs will have specific days that they want to interview. This requires coordination with faculty, so almost impossible that they will change or create an interview date specifically for you or other group of people. So pick from whatever is available. Cool. As an interview, once you got an interview, you have to do a few things. Preparation for the interview. What does that mean? So first thing first, you have to know your CV very well. And I'm saying this because a lot of people have a lot of publications or contribution or like hobbies, and you'll never who you'll interview with. But a lot of people go into the details, so they might ask about the intricacies of your research, or what was your contribution to this paper, or what was your contribution to this presentation. We'll ask you very specific questions. So know the work that you put in. So anything you put in writing, you should know, ideally. Please keep your CV very accurate. Your personal statement represents the real thing. احنا حكينا بالجابا conference, I think, symposium عن the personal statement. This is not the space or time. It requires probably like a full webinar how to do a personal statement. You should know your CV and personal statement very, very well. It's easy to know somebody who stumbles about a piece in their personal statement or CV almost immediately. Try to be very accurate. Now, important thing, research the program. Go on their website, read every single page that they have. So the overview about the program, the department itself, who are the faculty. Especially a lot of these programs will send you the list of the faculty that you'll be interviewing, right? So look at their web pages, what research interests, where did they finish up. It's a conversation starter. So again, the interview is just a conversation. It's a casual thing. Consider it as a casual. What keeps the conversation going is this research that you did before, right? Information about the faculty, the work in the department, any awards that was given to specific residents, any special events that happened. A lot of departments have calendars, they have events on the main web page or on the residency. Some of the programs have awards that they've got recently, or some metric performance that they're proud of. So it's a conversation starter. It shows that you as an applicant really looked up the program and you're very, very interested and bought into matching over there. Good. طبعا part of the preparation انا بحكي هذا الحكي خصوصي احنا الاردنيين لانه we don't interview very well in general. We're very rigid. The type of jokes is different, type of conversations are different. يعني two different cultures. It's understandable. بس my understanding انه في يعني من وقت ما احنا خلصنا لحديت هلا في صاير third party companies or people, they're doing mock interviews or they prepare people for interviews. So if you think you're weak at interviewing, like interpersonal interviewing skills, please utilize and get specialized training. So the least that you can do, it's a peer interview. So you interview your friend, they interview you, probably a panel. You can do 3 or 4 group of people. You will interview them all once so they can critique you. Like maybe you stumble a little bit. They would prepare like mock questions. They would prepare generic questions. Tell us about yourself. What do you want to feel? Blah, blah, blah. It's just to get your tongue used to these answers and used to these questions. Does that make sense? So please do mock interviews. They're more useful than you think. There's a good reason why you rehearse anything. مثلا في cases of emergency, there's always a training على case of emergency because once the emergency happens, it's a muscle memory at that time. صح؟ فالmock interview is very, very important, especially for IMGs. Highly stress that point. People undermine this. They would just show up to the interview and they will find, oh, it took them like 2 or 3 or 4 interviews to warm up. That's half of your interview stack, right? So that's a problem. Last piece, always prepare some stories, some highlights. So rather than you think during the interview, oh, what was the good team work moment, or what was like a resilience moment for me, or what was like a good leadership moment for me, or something that highlighted my path in medical school. Prepare these highlights in your career. Many faculty or interviewee that you will meet, they will ask the generic questions, right? The folks that makes the biggest impact in your ranking are the ones that ask the really interesting questions. Usually your program director, APT, previous program directors, they always have interesting questions for you because they have interviewed so many people. Regular faculty, they ask usually the generic questions, but it's always good to have some prepared stories. Obviously, they have to be something that you went through, real stories that everybody has, like a good teamwork moment, research moment, good clinical experience moment, the interesting case moment, leadership moment. Everybody, no matter how small or big, you don't have to inflate it too much and you don't have to deflate it too much. And you can spin it to look very nice. You just make it very, very presentable, very interesting. Sounds good? Okay, hopefully preparation is not too difficult. Any questions on preparation? لأنه preparation is very, very important. بدي أعطيكم positive advice, but this is just the basic. You only have 5 or 10 interviews. It's not too difficult to research the program for a good 2 days before you do an interview with them. Cool. Please type in the questions that you have in the chat box. We can go over them. Again, the idea here is to have a lot of Q&As, but these are points that I think they're important to list as slides. But this is a topic that is not a type of lecture. Okay. So you did your preparation, you're ready. So what you should do in an interview, and this is what makes it or break it. The good news, once you made it to the interview, you're good on paper. So you made the cut through the initial filters. You made the cut through reviewing all the applications that made it through the initial filter. So you stood out as your, let's say a program will interview, for example, Neurology will interview, let's say like 80 or 100 applicants, right? So you made the cut through the initial filter and viewing like 400, 500 applications, and we picked like, hey, what we thought like is the top 100 that we're going to interview. So you made already probably 2 or 3 filters already. On paper, you're acceptable, right? يعني بتصفي الفروقات في السكورز والفروقات في الببليكيشنز والفروقات الموجودة على الورق is not as impactful as what you're going to do in an interview. يعني it's a positive and negative thing. So you don't stress out your application too much, but you're going to have to focus on the interview. أول شغلة, you have to look professional. And what I mean professional, يعني make sure that the background behind you is very well set up, right? يعني wear a suit, a tie. Sometimes يعني make sure your hair is يعني basic information, but يعني we see all kinds of applicants, right? يعني make sure your hair is done. For girls, same thing. يعني you look professional. You have to look professional. And look always enthusiastic. يعني you should have an energy, positive vibes. We interview a lot of people. They're just like negative. They look like they don't want to interview you. عرفت كيف؟ they immediately give you a negative vibe. It doesn't look very professional, and يعني it gives you the negative context right off the bat. It's not great. Now احنا في العالم virtual, it's very difficult to maintain eye contact, but you can maintain eye contact. حط الكمبيوتر تبعك يعني in a good level. أنا مثلا is not doing this greatly, بس يعني you should put your screen, but I'm using Chrome. It's giving me a hard time. But you can put your screen kind of like up top to your camera, and you can look at the camera. It gives like a good eye-to-eye contact. And this is the best way. Have a good posture. Practice active listening. We have a problem as Jordanians in general. We cut off conversations on a regular basis. It's always whenever the person in front of you finishes their sentence completely, you would reply completely. And you almost will see they will never cut you off. Never. It's like a ping pong. Like once you receive the ball, you bounce it back, not halfway. عرفت كيف؟ Practice this active listening. It's harder, easier said than done. In reality, I'm not kidding. With pretty much most IMGs, it takes an active effort. Okay. Now, during the interview, هذول الأشياء اللي very very basics as communication skills. بدك answers aligns with the program. So some of the programs, they have specific vision, and you will see some programs focus on like residents' wellness and activities and whatnot. So you want to show some elements of that. You'll see some programs they're proud about national educational achievement, scores, blah, blah, blah. So you want to highlight that. See if there's some intricate or specific things that a program likes, and you can highlight that in yourself. Okay. Now, في عندنا احنا generic questions. Their problem is the generic answers. So generic answers, يعني مثلا, hey, what do you want to go to internal medicine? Well, I like internal medicine. It looks like a puzzle, blah, blah, blah. Very generic answer. The question is generic, but you should avoid the generic questions as much as you can. It's not a great answer. It's not negative either. It's nothing that you should be like, oh yeah, I did a very generic answer. It's not bad, but you're not going to stand out. If you're not going to stand out during the interview, mostly you will rank like in the middle or the lower half, just being an IMG. And now American grads, they have pretty good scores, pretty much rivals our scores as IMGs these days. The scores otherwise the applications تبعتنا kind of falls behind because our interview skills are not that great. Always at the end, leave some time for questions. So watch the time. Some people who interview you, they take over the interview, they start talking. So whenever you get a chance to talk, so highlight your skills, highlight what's important, highlight like leadership achievement, highlight your interest in research, highlight, for example, your interest in educational, rural care, highlight, for example, ask questions. So if you think you're running out of time, you should always ask questions to show interest. And I'll talk about the questions. So manage time. I know a lot of interviewees, they let the interviewer take over the interview. It's an active thing. Whenever you get this 15 or 20 minutes of interview, some interviewers, they just keep talking and talking. They will barely give you like 5 minutes to talk about yourself. So whenever you get the mic, you want to make sure you highlight the top traits and ask very direct, interested genuine questions about the program. Basically, in a few minutes, you want to show somebody that you're professional. You want to show them that you're reliable. You got to show them that you're very interested about the program, very interested about the field, and have very specific questions for their program. And you want to show them like, hey, I looked up the program and I looked up a lot of things about the program. So بصراحة very difficult to do in 15 to 20 minutes. Back in the day when the interviews used to be in person, in reality, the total amount of time we encounter with people used to be much higher. Like you would interview every person like for 15 to 20 minutes, but you used to take a tour with the chief residents and meet the program director multiple times, and it's more on time, like person to person time. So the advantage of اللي احنا بنسويه virtual is obviously much more cheaper these days and more convenient for everybody, but on the expense of us knowing the interviewees as much. We also have the same issues. Yeah, we don't get to know the interviewees that good as we used to in the past. Okay, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So you want to, in this 15, 20 minutes, half of it's going to go through, I would log in, is my camera working, you know, my technical issues, and the other guy talking. So يعني فعليا in the best case scenario you have 10 minutes. Sometimes the time goes by quickly, so you should always have some rehearsed stories and discussion topics. You should never stop the conversation. Okay, so يعني sitting in awkward silence is the worst thing for your interview. And obviously يعني answering some يعني inappropriate answers. Now, nobody should ask you about like political questions, religious questions. This is a complete violation of ERS and AAMC, so nobody should ask you this. But you always should have topics to keep the conversation going. So you need this kind of social, you're trying to know the guy, right? Like it's a very social, you want to keep it going, you want to keep the energy up throughout the interview, look interested, look always happy, smile as much as you can. So it's always good. You want to give this good vibe within just a very short period of time. Okay? Okay, if you had any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question is, what are the most common questions we should prepare that you have encountered in your experience?
هسه في أنا some interesting questions, just suggestions. Listen, I think when you research the program, you will always come up with specific questions for that program. But I think in the last slide, I have some few suggested questions. You can build up on them at least, right? As of these questions. So we'll come up to this.
Okay. Another question. No neurology laws, how to answer regarding that?
I'm sorry? ايش الكويشن؟
I think he's asking if someone have no letter of recommendation in neurology and he's applying for neurology residency, if they ask them why you don't have.
Okay. هسه بشكل عام هذا rarely is going to be a question. Why didn't you get a letter from neurology specific residency? احنا for IMGs the answer is pretty straightforward, pretty genuine. يعني you tell them like an IMG we apply through the VSOL and we have limited capabilities on which programs we choose. And I applied to multiple neurology programs. The spots are less prevalent. When I also applied as a backup for internal medicine, so I got the opportunity in internal medicine and I took it. I wanted to get to know has هون BG this is the negative vibe, so you lead with the negative and then go with the positive. And I picked up internal medicine because I wanted to get to know the US experience and get exposure to the US healthcare system, regardless of the specialty. And I think I got that. Good enough. This is a very good answer. But rarely you will get asked this question.
Doctor, we have a question about the preparation part. Muhammad asked, does the accent and fluency affect the final results? Should this be a major part of my preparation?
Yeah. شوف الاكسنت no. هسه as an accent كل حدا عنده accent. احنا عندنا accent. Folks from China, Pakistan, India, everybody has an accent. Accent is not a problem. The conversation is the problem. If your communication skills, not the accent, unless you have a very, very, very thick accent. And if we have to measure our accents, we're on the good side. Honestly, يعني في folks من الصين ومن مصر بالذات يعني من إخوان مصر عندهم accent is very difficult sometimes to understand. They match. A lot of يعني very, very successful programs have a lot of Egyptian folks. So the most important is the other person. Is he able to understand this accent? Okay, is it understandable? يعني إحنا لما نقابل الناس حتى from Poland او مثلا انجلند عندهم very thick accent بالنسبه لاحنا شو متعودين نسمع. بس as long as we understand them easily, this is not a problem. The problem is communication skills. فإذا أنت حاسس إنه في عندك communication skills problem, you should address that before your interview. يعني يعني إذا واحد يعني وضعه مرتاح، وضعه المادي كويس، ممكن ياخذ professional courses in interview. Communication skills, purely communication, just good discussion, conversations. إذا وضعك مش كثير مرتاح وما بتقدرش مثلا والله تدفع على مثلا نحكي مثلا 5 أو 6 أو 7 حصص مثلا مع أشخاص professional يعني doing this for life, you can train with friends. عرفت كيف؟ with group of friends. يعني it's easier to mimic that with multiple eyes and multiple ears can listening to. عرفت كيف؟ it's active, and I'm pretty sure there is some AI conversation. شوف له ads إنه AI training interview or conversation thing. I'm pretty sure there's something, so you can train with AI as well.
Got it. So it's about getting your points across more. We also have a question from Muhammad Al-Assaf. He asked about does not singling a program affect the ranking decision after the interview? I'm going to add into this. We had a lot of questions submitted about how to discuss not signaling a program during the interview. If you were asked about why did you not signal us?
I don't think you will get asked this question. I don't think so بصراحة. طبعا في programs they will go and يعني break most of the rules. يعني you might interview with somebody who will ask you a political question or religious question or a question like this: why did you do this in your application, or why didn't you do that in your application? بصراحة this is frowned upon. يعني this is not the right way. And if you've seen it multiple times in the same interview, this is a red flag. And I know some programs in the Northeast and specifically in New York, they break all the rules of AMC. Some programs they got on probation. Some programs got closed, like their residency program in يعني خلينا نحكي New York specifically, without mentioning names, in New Jersey. The programs they got closed because multiple violation during interviews and during residency. These programs are predator programs. يعني they're not good. يعني if a program really raised up a red flag for you, you should rethink, do I really want to spend 3 or 4 years in this program?
It's nice to hear that even there is any problem.
I know. Sometimes you have few interviews, but sometimes it might be worst case scenario. It might be very bad, truly.
Okay, I think last question before we move on. What is the most important properties of a research?
A research property طبعا إذا عندك prospective research, that's the best. عرفت كيف؟ But obviously research that you know what you did. As a medical student, we're not expecting you to be a first author. احنا بيجينا applicants their first author. طبعا last author عندنا هو بيكون senior person. يعني مثلا حدا زي مثلا عنده الداتا. فاحنا we do first author, the person who put in the most يعني leg work, who put in most of the paperwork writing. أهم شيء as a medical student, we expect you to be second, third, fourth, sixth author, right? The most important part that you showed some interest in research. Now, some people يعني عندهم they did a research or 2 research years. This could be good and bad. So a good part, if you published, then this is good. We can ask about your research. But if you spend 2 years in doing research fellowship and you have only 1 or 2 publications, that tells me that you spent 2 years doing nothing. It's always about how much production, and we're going to ask you, those research guys that people take a couple of years off to do research, we ask them about their research. Well, it has to be really, like, to me, and خلينا نحكي any decent program, it has to be in the field that you're interested in. But if you spend خلينا نحكي 2 years doing neurosurgery research and you're applying to internal medicine, you will definitely get asked about this. فاهم علي كيف؟ فسلاح ذو حدين برضو. The most important part that you show some research, حتى لو posters, presentations, and you know the work that you did. Okay, if it was a data collection, good. Read the paper. احنا نعمل data collection. This is the part that we did and observed the analysis. احنا البيبر تبعتنا, and you didn't try it, but you know what happened with the paper if it get published. So you should know something. عرفت كيف؟ This is the best type of research. يعني you know what you did. Okay. هسا what are the interviewers looking for? أنا as a APD or program directors أو the folks who interview you, what are they looking for during the interview? Okay. هون is very very important topic. هسه بدك تعرف الانترفيوز is a subjective thing at the end of the day. There's many programs that have a scoring system. We have a scoring system for the interview, but I can tell you with very good certainty, most programs, they do not have a scoring system, like a proper scoring system. It'll be vague at best, like a Likert scale, like 1 out of 5, but nothing very specific. We have very specific scoring system for the interview for every single aspect, communication, leadership, multiple aspects in your application and during the interview. But this is the exception to the rule. So what in general the folks who interview you looking for? The most important part, they want to see if you fit the program culture. Basically, sure. So what's the culture? Most important thing, they want to see if you're a team player. You're easygoing, positive energy, keep the conversation going. بشوف انه ما في عندك like very rigid approaches or very concrete thinking. Just being easy going with the interview, positive vibes, this is good enough. Okay, so they're looking if you fit the program. It's a low bar to meet the program as long as you're not a weirdo زي ما بنحكي احنا. We're looking for the weirdos. It's like the weirdos, you X them out. You also want to see what's your commitment to the specialty. If you're applying to neurology, internal medicine, general surgery, radiology, and how much dedicated you're to this specialty. Has to see the application could show that through خلينا نحكي electives, research. But if you're elective and your research is different, you should during the interview emphasize why this specialty that you chose. ليش أنا ممكن صح لي clerkship doing something different. With research تبعي عملت pediatrics, why am I interested in radiology now, right? فأنت مثلا ممكن تحكي إنه أنا ممكن فعليا لا أنا كنت interested, أنا كنت spend مثلا after hour times with radiologists. مثلا رحت على مستشفى الملك المؤسس، على مستشفى الجامعة. I observed 1, 3, 4 guys after hours, for example. I did a lot of reading about the topic and why you're interested. So you want to show tracks record of your genuine interest in that specialty. Okay. The most important thing that I put in bold here, the most important thing in an interview, communication skills. So most of us IMGs, we get dinged on the interview through communication skills. So the conversation, pretty much. And I can guarantee you 90% of the time what makes you on the ranking list is your communication skill. Is always dropping you. So it's easy to drop people off the poor communication skills. Okay, so the easy way around this is mock interviews. إذا عندك communication, take professional help, أو do it with friends, so rehearse interviewing, communicating, talking in English, and have a preparation, prepare about the program, stories, and prepare some conversation going topics. Okay, you can ممكن حتى يكون في عندك conversation about Jordan. ممكن يكون عندك conversation about مثلا محلات صارت معك في elective, leadership skills, something. You should have some probably 4 or 5 topics that you can just bring it out of your pocket and talk about them right away. Okay. طبعا some interviewers, they want to see how you would handle stress. So some of them will ask you odd questions, or they will ask you questions about stressful situations and workload balance. So they want to see how resilient you are. قديش انت ممكن manage in a stressful situation and handle the load of residency. So this is a little bit tricky, but in general you should have some idea on how do you handle stress. Okay. But then they want to see your interest about, hey, عندك specific interest like teaching, are you interested in academic, are you interested in research career or community services. وما في right or wrong answer. So the academic institutions, they might have interest for academic folks who are interested in academic career or community. So مثلا احنا عندنا في كانساس احنا literally this doesn't, we ask out of curiosity, honestly. We have applicants who did their residency and went to community services, like 2-3 hours away, middle of nowhere, and they established the neurology practice and extremely successful. But they were, from the moment, it's just a purely out of interest question. So it doesn't make or break your interview. You don't have to say like, yeah, I'm interested in academic career. It doesn't have to. Okay, ممكن تحكي I'm interested in urban care أو مثلا community-based services. That's completely fine. is just have some idea. It's always good to be open. There's no problem. I want to show exposure for research teaching. I'm not determined. أنا عندي interest for teaching students. كان في عندي few lectures I liked مثلا teaching folks about things مثلا guided مثلا my third year, fourth year through a few things or research found it interesting. So I'm open to research. I want to see what's the next level of research would look like. After open questions, you're open-minded. Always helpful to have an open-minded approach. Okay. هسه لي questions. هسه احنا حكينا في آخر الانترفيو. You probably should prepare some questions. There is a lot of generic questions. I'm pretty sure we can skip those. This is what I think would stand out. You should ask some smart questions. I call them smart questions. Okay. مثلا questions like how does the program support residents' career goals? How does the program gear a resident A to become this guy? Like if I'm interested خلينا نحكي in مش specific internal medicine مثلا if I'm interested to do مثلا interventional radiology or interventional neurology, how is the program going to be able to support me? How does the program support the residents through their fellowship? Okay. كيف البروجرام بيساعدهم؟ هل انتم مثلا ممكن عندكم يكون فيلوشيب جاهز الامور هاي واي، او ممكن بقول لك احنا فينا افلييشنز مع هاي الاذر بروجرامز ذات سيت فور فيلوشيب. اوكي. ممكن تسال عن المنتورشيب افيلابيلتي او الاوبورتونيتيز. احكي له مثلا what is the mentorship program looks like? Do I have مثلا mentors that can guide me throughout my career او to help me choose او guide me through fellowship choices down the road. مثلا بشوف مثلا الشخص اللي بيقابلك بشوف this is a very mature question. Okay. ممكن انت مثلا تسال عن what is the role of residents in teaching other medical students or in leadership in the program. عرفت كيف؟ this shows that you're interested in teaching and leadership. ممكن you ask them what are the qualities that makes a resident thrive in your program? What are you looking for in residents? This is a counter question. Okay. And you can ask about the graduating residents. Let's tell them what has been the graduated residents do. Where did you go? What kind of fellowship they did? What is the rates for folks who go to community care, education? This is a more broad, like well-rounded, very mature type of questions. It shows the other person that you're looking actually beyond your residency and you're looking actually towards your fellowship and your career. So, and those are just examples. There's multiple very good and smart questions that you can do. Okay. طبعا generic questions بيجي بقول لك okay, how can I do research? It's almost a requirement. You should do some form of research in most programs. At least one type of research could be like a poster presentation, like throughout your 3 or 4 years. So these are generic, like a requirement. I would say don't ask the same questions that were presented in the program director about the structure of the program. The structure of the program should be asked to the program director. If you had a question about the structure, you should ask the program director, not the other interviewers. Okay. مثلا تسألهم كم elective عندي في السنة الثالثة مثلا. Like a lot of the folks that you interview, they don't know. They don't know. Okay. They're not involved in the structure of the residency, so it's not their job to build that or know that. Okay. طيب ناخذ questions.
I have a personal, maybe it's a naive question, but what is the structure of interview like? Do you interview 1 or 2 person at a time, or it's a panel? So
yeah, good question actually. احنا بالنسبة لنا we think this is a known thing. الأصل most programs they will send you the itinerary for the interview ahead of time. Okay. Usually, since we're talking about the virtual interviews, some interviews they're still done in person. So if you were invited to in-person interview, if you have the means to do it, please do it. Okay. Usually, the structure starts with opening by the program director. They welcome all applicants. Will be like this, but then they will talk about the structure of the program. Usually, 20 to 30 minutes talks about highlights of the program. What do we do in the second, third, fourth year? It's a different type of presentation. Most programs, since you're doing residency, 80 to 90% of all programs, they carry the same structure. The reason the ACGME regulates the structure of any residency program. So you'll find 80 to 90%, is actually more than 90, about 90% of the program is exactly the same, okay, in different formats. So truly each program have the minor differences in about just 10%. Like what kind of electives, how many electives can you choose from elective that you create versus a list list of electives that are preset, stuff like that, يعني minute things. بعدين بتصير one-on-one interviews. Usually most programs they will do one-on-one interviews. I'll see يعني programs that do group interviews. For me is يعني almost like بديش نحكي red flag is like orange flag. It's not the right way to interview people. يعني it's not right for the interviewee. عرفت كيف؟ لأنه أنت you put them on the spot, it's not comfortable. يعني you're wasting. It's not good value and respect for the person you're interviewing. Okay. بدناش نحكي red flag. It's like an orange flag for me or a yellow flag. So this is the structure. Because it's virtual, يعني it usually ends faster. It's like a half day. يعني 3-4 hours you'll be done. Before that or after that, a lot of the programs offer a meet and greet with the residents. Previously to dinners, right? That's a meet or greet. It's like a casual meeting with the residents. How important is this? And I think it's very, very important these days, especially with virtual. And I don't see why anybody would skip that. يعني honestly. فأنا دائما بسأل ال applicants إنه how was your interview with the residents? And me personally, I asked them. فالfolks اللي tell me, oh, I couldn't attend. For me, and it raises a question: why couldn't you attend? It's just a virtual, like half an hour. You could showed up a face, right? So it's good because the residents, if they liked you, they will definitely say very positive things about you. هسا, in reality, 90% of the applicants they're about the same, so nothing stands out. It's like about 10% or 5% stand out. So the residents will say like, oh, Muhammad, we like Muhammad. It was, يعني, very nice conversations, kept it going, very positive vibes. We liked him. He had very genuine, يعني, very, very interested, smart questions. بيجوا مثلا على شخص ثاني مثلا سوري عبد الله بس مثلا بيحكوا oh عبد الله لا he was very rigid, he asked very odd questions, عمل kind of racist jokes or something like that. فلما يكون في red flag على person, لما احنا نحكي مع residents, we meet with them, we take their feedback. هسه هم residents they don't do the ranking at all, but they can cancel people out, especially if they don't have the right to cancel people out, but we take their opinion seriously. If somebody, or especially more than one person, said no, this person did odd question, or this person dropped like an odd comment or did something weird. عرفت كيف؟ if you're interviewing or meeting with the resident, do something not professional, this is obviously a very red flag. يعني بقول لك لا تنام اللي يقولوا تنام فبتنسى الموضوع يعني.
If anybody would like to raise their hand, they're more than welcome to just raise their hand and ask their question instead of just typing it into the chat. So we have a question from Noura. She asked about how can we show our personality in 15 minutes, and what kind of questions can we ask? Should they be more of the academic or more of general interest questions, such as what the city is like and the activities that are available?
Okay. Well, an easy answer is it's difficult. Obviously, showing your personality in 15 minutes, it's difficult. But the other positive side is only 15 minutes, so you can put a lot of energy. Yani, always a good smile, be happy. If you have prepared and you looked up the program, you have multiple points, you can write it down, and you have multiple stories to talk about, you will keep the conversation going. It's a conversation. So the interview is, I can't stress this out for IMGs, it's a conversation. The questions, it should be obviously not general questions, should be academic questions. يعني الكارير جولز، يعني مثلا انا انترستد شو الانترشيب بروجرام، شو الريسيرش. انا الريسيرش مثلا انا قرات انه في عندكم جرانتس، كان اي مثلا participate and be مثلا mentored by this specific guy مثلا صار في عنده جرانتس. مثلا اذا عندك، اذا انت بتحكي انه انت you're interested in research, you show انه في عندك interest انه to follow up مثلا this person in the department. These are very targeted and very meaningful questions. So to me, for example, بيجيني واحد مثلا بيقول لي انا بشوف على السي في تبعته عنده few research مثلا in neurology، بيجي بيحكي لي مثلا I want to follow up Dr. مثلا X who had a recent grant, and it's always all these things are published on the website. يعني they're very proud about grants. فأنا I see this guy looked up the interview very well, and he has genuine interest in a specifically named specific guy. This is excellent stuff. It has to be obviously academic type of questions, but you want to make them mature questions. Again, if you rehearse enough, you will be good, right? Yani, you will be really good from the first interview. As most of you, as you interview, you will notice يعني, oh, after the third or fourth interview, my interview skills got much better. And I see it in a, okay, this is good, but you wasted the first 3 interviews most likely. عرفت كيف؟ فأنت rehearse عشان hopefully you're good right off from the first one. Okay, so a couple of stressing out the same points. Again, you should show enthusiasm. You should show positive energy. You always should look professional. And I have to stress this out, especially in this generation. Please look professional. What I mean, يعني you should be يعني أنت ممكن عادي عندك لحية ما في مشكلة بس مثلا well shaved, will مثلا put your hairs, look very professional, always dress up very nicely. عرفت كيف؟ Have a setup behind you. The worst thing, you see somebody's bed undone. You could use a virtual background. فاهم كيف؟ you know, there's some really big, yeah, we've seen it all. This is the problem. يعني somebody's عنده بس مثلا بتنط أو يعني this is a problem. You could have closed the door. عرفت كيف؟ أو إزعاج أو something. Make a setup very professional. يعني this is the easiest thing to do. بعرف ستايلات الشعر هالأيام is interesting. بس يعني you can put some kind of cream or make it look professional. Basically look professional. And remember يعني دائما conversation, interview is not testing you out or he's not trying to fish out things. You want to see if you're a good fit and could be a good colleague in the future. فأنت just take it as a collegial thing. If you take it as collegial and you're talking to a different person, you want to, you know, sell yourself, and you want to show your real self. You want to be genuine, good energy, good communication, and this should be it. This should be like a very simple recipe for this.
We have some questions in the chat, I think. So Omar is saying, can we ask the board about passing rate among residents?
Yeah, definitely. لا السؤال يعني it's pretty good. You can ask مثلا انه what is the مثلا do you know how usually program director knows these type of statistic questions but in general you can ask more broad question any person can answer for you. اللي هو what does most residents do after they finish up their residency? Do they do fellowships in this program or do they go straight to career? And if they go to fellowships, which fellowships most commonly choose in your program? But then what is the support for us as residents to pick a fellowship down the road? Stuff like that.
Okay, Ibrahim say, if they offer us the option to attend in person or virtual interview, which one is better?
Wallahi, always if you can do it in person and it's not يعني cumbersome for you or your family, and it's always better. People will remember you. But أهم شيء, it's not gonna trump anybody with a better communication skill. يعني if you showed up in person and you had a pretty bad body language, bad communication skill is not gonna alter the fact. But folks have a better chance to have يعني more time on with your program director or APD or other people during the in-person interview.
Guys, if someone want to ask a voice, it would be easier, I think. So just raise your hand and we will allow it. Now, Sareen,
A couple of questions that I see, right?
What is considered a gap in the CV and how to cover it? Can we, for example, cover it with research without being in an institution?
Okay. هسه gaps in the CV is obviously any gap. Anything is considered a off time without clinical duties. هسه cover it, and I hope you mean يعني cover it in terms of like, hey, how do I fill that? يعني how to cover this part and fill it. You can, but usually you would like to see somebody doing active research with an institution. يعني it's not just research and sitting at home. It's hard to cover يعني things like that. It's always better to have a clinical duty. It's always better. Yani somebody, in my opinion, and this is yani have some subjectivity to it. A person who finished their medical school went into any type of clinical practice, internship in telemedicine or transitional year, is probably, in my opinion, more clinically attached than somebody who spent a couple of years just doing research. But that person is better than somebody who's been sitting at home doing nothing. So that's the big problem. If you're sitting at home doing nothing, have not found anything to do, that's a problem. So you should affiliate yourself with this.
Okay. Muhammad also, is it better to look professional or easygoing and talkative, I think?
Easygoing and talkative. The opposite, the calm is always negative. يعني calm they will take it as oh is الشخص is rigid or he's not talkative. الفوكس اللي عملوا electives